Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. A man inspecting collision damage on his car loses his life after being knocked down by a passing truck. Hong Kong stocks continue to head south, extending the longest losing streak in nearly 2 years. In a rare accident, a driver was killed after he was knocked down by a truck while checking for damage to his vehicle following a minor collision near Tai Lam Tunnel. The president of the Automobile Association said drivers who get into accidents should remain in their seats until police arrives. Janice Lowe reports.
Shortly before the fatal accident at around 6:30 a.m., the victim was involved in a minor collision with another vehicle at the toll plaza of Tai Lam Tunnel. Both drivers pulled up just outside the tunnel's entrance, and when the driver of the black BMW sedan got out to check for damage, he was hit by a heavy truck. The 53-year-old suffered multiple injuries and went into a coma. He was rushed to Yan Chai Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. His belongings, including a pair of shoes, a watch, and a smartphone, scattered the road. There was also a pool of blood. The front of the truck was slightly damaged. The 32-year-old truck driver has been arrested for dangerous driving, causing death. The driver of the white Tesla, 36, was also questioned by police. All Kowloon-bound lanes of Tai Lam Tunnel were sealed up for about 4 hours as a result of the accident. Traffic was diverted to other tube, causing severe disruption during the morning rush. Automobile Association President Ringo Lee pointed out that drivers often become impulsive and drop their guard following a collision on the road. They tend to get out of the vehicle immediately to check for damage or liaise with the other driver, Lee explained. Such acts, he said, put themselves in unnecessary danger. Following an accident, Lee advised motorists to switch off the engine and turn on the hazard lights to warn other road users before exiting carefully. But drivers should never get off if they are on a highway and buckle up while waiting for police to arrive. Lee urged drivers to remain vigilant at all times, and personal safety should always be the top priority. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
Police are calling for caution when hunting for bargains online after registering an increase in related scams for the first half of the year. They are now working with monetary regulators on a system which will warn users of suspicious bank account holders. Macy Mock reports.
Police recorded over 4,800 online shopping scams in the first half of this year, a 23% jump compared to the same period last year. Victims have lost a total of $94 million, with most of them only realizing they had been duped after the goods never arrived. But Chief Inspector Bonnie An of the Cyber Intelligence Division says that sellers could also fall prey to scams. 28 sellers of mostly luxury handbags, watches, and electronic products were swindled out of $1.4 million by a syndicate. Fraudsters first pretended to deposit a check to trick the sellers into shipping the items, but the deposit would never go through as the transaction would either be revoked or the money withdrawn from the buyer's accounts. 8 people from the syndicate have been arrested so far. Police have also actively worked with Meta, the parent company of Facebook, and Carousel to combat online crimes. The force noted that more than 80% of scammers operated on the 2 virtual marketplaces.
We would exchange intelligence and also request them to do anti-scam measures. We have already passed more than 5,000 Facebook fake pages to Meta, and over 95% were actually taken down already.
The officers urged the public to remain vigilant. Police said they are working with the monetary authorities to produce a blacklist of payees on the faster payment system by the end of the year. Buyers will be alerted if they attempt to send money to flagged accounts. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Political parties have joined growing calls to counter the city's dwindling birth rate. But the Liberal Party and the Third Side are proposing different approaches. Here's Janice Lowe.
The Liberal Party and the Third Side may fall on different ends of the political spectrum, but they shared similar demands for the upcoming policy address. Both parties are calling on Chief Executive John Lee to encourage childbirth. In its 43-page suggestion, the Third Side advocated a better social environment to entice couples to consider raising a child. This includes achieving the goal of universal suffrage, a touchy issue Lee has avoided so far. The centrist party stressed that under the Basic Law, the SAR government has the constitutional duty to grant every Hong Kong citizen the right to choose their leader. Party leader Teck Chi-yuen said that young adults refuse to bear a child because they have lost confidence in Hong Kong's future and felt their children would only suffer. The Liberal Party, meanwhile, believes middle-income households would be more willing to expand their families if there are more financial incentives. The business-focused group proposed raising the child allowance and subsidizing parents who send their kids to private schools. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
South Africa is getting ready to host the annual Bric Summit, with leaders from Brazil, Russia, India, and China arriving in the city of Johannesburg. A key topic for the three-day conference will be the potential expansion of its membership, as dozens of emerging nations are keen to join the bloc.
After meeting virtually last year because of COVID, the leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa will greet each other face-to-face tomorrow for the Bric Summit. Now in its 15th edition, the annual conference in Johannesburg will focus on strengthening the partnership between BRIC member states and other African nations. The five-nation bloc represents a quarter of the world's GDP and nearly half the planet's population. Experts say that Africa could benefit from strengthening multilateralism through BRICS. A key agenda point this year will be the potential admission of new member nations. Dozens of countries are seeking entry, including Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Argentina, Thailand, and Indonesia.
There's in principle an agreement on expansion. Whether we get it at this summit, I think it's still an open question, because obviously depending on which countries do get admitted, that would also open up further questions why some were admitted and why others were not.
The bloc has already institutionalized the BRICS Development Bank, a rival to the International Monetary Fund. The member states are increasingly conducting trade with their own currencies and wean off reliance on the US dollar. The summit also provides a chance for President Xi Jinping to drive his global development initiative and counter Western dominance over world affairs. Russian President Vladimir Putin will not be able to attend physically due to an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court in light of the Ukrainian invasion. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will represent Moscow at the gathering. Putin will still attend virtually, as Russia is keen to develop its ties with other BRICS nations amid growing isolation from the West.
Over in the U.S., Tropical Storm Hillary has moved into Southern California after causing widespread damage in Mexico. Residents in desert regions have been told to brace for flash floods and mudslides. Raymond Young reports.
Known for its sunny and vibrant oasis vibes, much of Palm Springs has now become a water park. The upscale resort city east of Los Angeles has declared a local emergency due to unprecedented rainfall and flooding from Tropical Storm Hillary. Residents in Southern California have been asked to stay home after forecasters said the region could receive up to 250 millimeters of rain, 5 times as much as it would typically get for the whole year. Even the famous Death Valley in the northern Mojave Desert has reported flash floods. One of the driest places in the United States recorded 16 millimeters of rainfall since Sunday, nearly a third of its annual average.
Rainfall, as we've talked about the last couple of days, is going to be the biggest hazard for this storm. It's what we're most concerned about. You can see rainfall increasing this morning across the Los Angeles basin out into the deserts of southeastern California. You can see some heavier rainfall here down near the center of Hillary that's starting to move northward out of Baja California to the north and will be moving into Southern California over the next 18 to 24 hours.
Authorities are paying particular attention to valley regions east of San Diego and Los Angeles, as torrents of water could wash down from mountain ranges, causing mudslides downstream. But some thrill seekers are ignoring safety warnings and venturing into the sea. Kiteboarders were out having a good time in San Diego, saying the stronger winds are perfect for the sport. Earlier on its way north, Hillary battered the Baja California Peninsula in Mexico, killing at least one person and causing major flooding. Soldiers have been deployed to assist in the relief efforts. Ray Mingyang, HKIBC.
Hong Kong stocks have logged their longest losing streak in nearly 2 years after contracting for the 7th consecutive session. The Hang Seng Index fell to a 9-month low after shedding 1.8%. The benchmark is now 8% lower than just 10 days ago, with over 90% of blue chips heading south during the slide. Country Garden, which will soon lose its status as a constituent stock, retreated by another 2.6%. Fellow mainland developer Sunac China plunged over 12% amid more bad news for the property sector. Elsewhere, pharma giant Sinopharm Group was up 2.3%, while Orient Overseas International tumbled as much as 13% before closing 5.6% lower on disappointing interim results. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 327 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent was down $7. Alibaba was down $1.30. Meituan down $2.90. AIA was down $2.25. Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.55, the Canadian dollar at 5.88. And over in the UK markets, the London FTSE is currently up 27 points. Hong Kong's inflation has eased for 3 consecutive months, with the consumer price index rising 1.8% in July from a year earlier. Utilities cost 10% more last month, compared to a 13% rise in June. Prices of alcohol and tobacco saw the most significant increase at 18.4%. People dining outside or getting takeaway meals had to fork out 3.7% more, even though groceries were 0.5% cheaper. The government predicts inflation will remain moderate in the near term. On to the weather now. Sunny tomorrow with a few showers. Temperatures will range between 28 and 32 degrees. Expect similar conditions in the coming days. That's our main news for Monday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Thanks for watching. Good night.